expect him to miss a good bit of time. So we brought a couple of infielders back that we feel helps us from a matchup standpoint and depth standpoint for these upcoming opponents here. But certainly keeping an eye on everything going on around the organization. I'm very happy that we got a chance to call Drew Rom up today and provide us a fresh arm out of the bullpen. I think this is a season and a 40-man roster where every single person on that 40-man roster is going to come into play for us throughout the year, and he's the next one to get a first shot.
With Vavra, let's say over Ortiz, for example, is that more about you're not seeing as many lefties in succession as you were in Detroit, and he's an emergency catcher for you now?
Yeah, I think it's part of it. I mean, we were looking at from a short-term basis who to bring up, and we've got Terrin here, and we'll just kind of see where this all goes. But we're fortunate right now where we have a lot of guys performing very well in AAA, both on and off the 40-man roster, and we're actively discussing all of those guys that are knocking on the door.
There's been a lot of, the last few weeks, a lot of roster churn. So is this something that we can expect a lot more of?
Well, I don't think it's something that we want to do for its own sake, but I think we're in a kind of a nice position where we've got flexibility with our roster, and we have a lot of young players on the 40-man who are doing well in AAA. And so when we have an injury, or we have some matchups changing, or the bullpen needs a fresh arm, we tend to be able to make a move to do it. So it's a long season. I'm sure we'll have a lot of this for a number of reasons, but we're going to go with this group for a while.
With that open 40-man spot, was there consideration at all with Jordan Westberg, and what have you seen from him that maybe you need to see a little bit more of?
Yeah, he's been a great performer in AAA, an active topic of conversation, dating back even into last year. And this is a move that we had to make pretty quickly last night. But certainly, he's somebody that we're still monitoring and discussing and paying very close attention to on a nightly basis. I think right now with the opponents we've got here coming up, we're going with this group, but we're keeping an eye on all those guys, him included.
What did you see from Drew the past few weeks that led to this decision?
Yeah, he's been doing his thing in AAA. He's been throwing strikes. I think he really only had like one rocky outing. He's been part of a very quality rotation down there. I think we're in a spot where all of those guys can come up and help us on a day-to-day basis when we need a pitcher. This was his day to pitch in AAA. We thought he would come up and provide us a nice length option and a left-hander out of the bullpen after we optioned Aiken last night. So I know he's probably pretty excited to be here.
Overall, just how pleased are you with the way this team started the season?
Yeah, it's good. I think we can get better too. I mean, I think that our rotation seems to be stabilizing and improving. We definitely don't have all of our our starting hitters firing on all cylinders. We've got guys that haven't gotten to the level that they performed at in the past or last year, or what we know that they're capable of. I don't think you're ever going to get all 9 guys hot at one time, but I think there's still room for this young team to keep getting sharper as the season goes along. And now we're moving into a challenging part of the schedule, a lot of AL East foes. So it won't get easier from that standpoint, but I think the arrows are pointing up with a lot of the players on this team and a lot of the guys in AAA. So overall, look, I mean, I don't know what our record is in the American League right now, but it's in a good spot. We're in the thick of the playoff race, but it's only May, and we're going to have to keep taking every series one at a time.
Do you have a sense of how long Gibbons and Tate need to stay on their rehab assignments?
Well, Michael's here right now. I think he's going to throw tomorrow, and then possibly the next day with a back-to-back in Bowie. So that'll put him in a position, depending on how that goes. So I think where we can start talking about it once that box is checked. So that's usually something that you want to see from a relief pitcher before they get activated. So I don't have exact dates there, but both of those guys, I think May is a live ball for both of those guys.
It's easy to want to see this series as a measuring stick, but obviously, like you said, it's May. Do you look at it though? Can you say, all right, well, here we are. Measure now. Is it important to measure yourself now where they are, or is it just 3 of 162?
No, look, yeah, we want to. I think anytime we get in with an AL East team, it's a measuring stick because the league is measuring us against them at the end of the day. So these games count a little bit more than non-division games. And whether those games happen in May or September, I mean, the games count the same. You have a little clearer idea of the urgency in the fall, but at the end, a loss in April or May or a win in April or May counts the same. So these are very important. I think that with the new rules and the expanded playoffs, it seems like almost every series we've played in so far feels really, really important. But these guys are they've played like the best team in baseball right now. So I definitely think our team is looking at this with a specific mindset.
With Gunnar, he hasn't gotten off to the start that he would like to this point. Are you guys content to let him work through his struggles up here at this level?
Well, there's been some encouraging stuff. The walk totals. He's had hit for power in spots. The defense has been really good. It's really early. We've seen what he did in the minors. We saw what he did last September. You look at what other people around the league are doing through April. It's very early. He's putting the work in. He's grinding out at bats. I think he's going to snap out of this pretty soon. And with Ramón going on the IL, I think we need him.
Has Cole Irvin showed you enough yet to be a consideration to bring back?
Yeah, absolutely a consideration. I think we're at this moment in time, we have 5 healthy starters. We want to keep a group of guys stretched out and starting in AAA, even if they could possibly be bullpen pieces. It's important for us to have starting pitching depth. And while he got kind of the unfortunate end of a pitching crunch after the first couple of starts, and we needed a fresh arm after Bradish got hurt in Texas, and he ended up in AAA. We still view him as a member of this rotation, somebody who's going to come help this rotation. But right now we've got 5 guys that are healthy and going pretty well. But I can't stress enough how long a baseball season and how early we are in a baseball season. So I am happy that we have a very strong 40-man roster right now. We got a strong major league team that's winning. We've got the Norfolk Tides with like the best record in the minors or whatever. So I just view this whole group as our team this year, and we're going to tap into every resource that we have in the majors and minors as needed.
This organization in a win now mode, how does that change roster decisions and roster moves compared to previous seasons?
I think it's we've seen it already with Kyle Stowers, Joey Ortiz, Vavra, and others where we're still wanting to develop these guys as everyday players and make sure they have everyday playing time or a lot of playing time, but we're bringing them up in spots to help out off the bench or in short spurts. So I think it requires a little bit more of a balancing act between developing their careers and then maybe giving them some part-time play up here, taste the major leagues, a little more sporadic playing time in the major leagues, but they're brought up to help our team win in spots. So I think that part is relatively new for us, kind of in the last calendar year, where that balance is more at the forefront. I'm very happy that that's the situation because that means we're winning.
Mike, what do you make of Grayson's body of work to this point, especially relative to what you saw out of him in spring?
He's doing really good. Can't wait to see what he does tonight. I think that he has been very gritty, even in the starts, that haven't had the best box scores. And, overall, you look at his statistics, and he's helped this team win more than not since he's been up here. So I know our pitching guys are viewing this as valuable learning experience for him, but it's also, he's not hurting us right now, and he's helping the team. So I think it's been really good all around. I think he's nowhere near the pitcher that we're going to see when he kind of matures into his prime as a major league starter. So I think, we should kind of all enjoy watching a gifted young pitcher like this pitch in the major leagues for the first time, and that's not all going to be perfect.
Mike, you mentioned that you feel like this team can get better still, and you've also mentioned that you view the team as players who are here, players who are in Norfolk, on off the roster. How much of the team's possible improvement in your mind comes from guys who aren't here right now and can contribute in the second half?
Well, look, I think most of that is going to come from the guys that are here. I mean, most of this team is really young. Most of this team is not in their prime. Most of this team does not have a lot of major league experience. So you look at a lot of those guys, the odds are, if they're as talented as we think they are, they should get better with time. And so with our young group up here on the Orioles 26-man roster, I see a lot of these guys getting better as the year goes along, and that's going to be a big boost, and that includes pitchers like Grayson, or even guys in more of a sophomore kind of season like Bradish. So I expect some improvement there, but it's awfully nice, having so much of our very good farm system in AAA, knowing that some of those guys are going to break through too and come back. And I also am looking forward to John Means coming back here in the second half as well. So I see more of an upward trend for this team because of all that growth and some of the talent that could be coming up off the IL or from AAA.
A great start to the season for Tony Hauser down in AAA. What else is the organization looking for out of him before he gets his call up?
Yeah, he so far very encouraging in terms of just the production, but I think in particular the strikeout, walk numbers have been good. He really hasn't spent that much time in AAA. We gave him a taste at the end of last year. We're a month and change in. Everything that he's doing is really encouraging. If he keeps this up, he's going to put himself in a position to help this team. But it's I don't think we're at that moment in time yet where we can say that he's graduated AAA. But again, we're constantly having internal discussions about all of those guys down there because they're all performing, and we've got players in AA that are performing too that need to get to AAA. So these are good problems to sort out for us, and I think as the season goes along, we're going to see more and more of these guys.
How nice has it been to see what Heston's done really from fall on?
Yeah, it's remarkable what he's doing with the outage that he had. I mean, I think it was 2 years off, give or take, and that's a long time to go without seeing pitching. But also, he was restricted from general physical activities for a long time. That can't be underestimated as well. And he's been one of the best hitters in AA so far, and was equally good in Major League Spring Training. So, I view it as a matter of repetitions in terms of if he keeps doing this, how much longer before he needs a new challenge.
DL Hall's been stretched out, and he pitched really well in his last start. But you brought him up that one time in Detroit for bullpen use. Would you think about bringing him up as a reliever?
Definitely. I mean, I think you look at today, we brought Drew Rom up as a reliever. He's not getting a start. He's going into the bullpen. And I think that between Drew and DL and Cole Irvin and Spencer Watkins, although he's on the IL right now, and Bruce Zimmerman, we've got pitchers on the 40-man, starting pitchers in the 40-man that we trust that are in that rotation, such that something weird happens, we can look at who's pitching in Norfolk that next day and bring them in to help. And so I think while we've got some big ambitions and big development goals for DL Hall, on a day-to-day basis, we're looking at him in that way too. So it's sort of something that we're just going to balance throughout the year. And if a guy like Rom comes up and helps our bullpen for a while, it doesn't mean that we're no longer developing him as a starting pitcher. So we'll just try to balance all that.
Can you talk about how valuable Adley's been to this team the last 2 years?
It sure seems like he's helped. I mean, if you look at our record since he got called up, and just being around him every day, and he's arguably in the conversation to be the best catcher in baseball right now. And catcher is one of those few positions where you're impacting other players on the field. So that part of it's hard to quantify, but I think anybody that sits here and watches Orioles games on a nightly basis can sense the impact that he's having and the value that he's bringing. And he's also somebody that is 25. He's getting better still, and I include him in that group that I continue to think we're going to see their best days ahead.
When you talk about him continuing to probably be or get lined up eventually to be best catcher in baseball, is that because he's a complete catcher?
Yeah, offensively, just looking at his numbers, and then defensively, what we're able to quantify, and then also what we're able to see subjectively, he is plus on both sides of the ball, and I don't think there's any way to look around the league right now and see what he's done over the past calendar year and make the argument that he's not a top 5 catcher or so in baseball right now. And I think as he continues to improve, he should be in the conversation for number 1.
Jackson Holliday's done well in High A so far. He's making his debut in Aberdeen tonight. What are you expecting to see out of him in Ripken Stadium for the first time?
Yeah, that'll be nice for him to have a home crowd and some Maryland fans for him. He's been terrific so far. I just want him to go out and play, and if he has some ups and downs, that's not going to be surprising. But so far, he's definitely not sinking since the promotion to High A. He's continued to draw walks, find ways to get base hits here and there. But it's early. We're going to be patient with him, but we're very proud of what he's done so far and thrilled to have him in the organization.
Mike, you've said numerous times you don't want to put all your chips in 2023, but when you guys get off to a start like this, does that change that equation at all, or at least change the weightages of it in terms of what you guys are trying to accomplish or will try to accomplish this season in particular?
Yeah, I think we're off to a good start here, and we've got a very good shot at making the playoffs, and we got a long way to go for the season. We've got to keep winning the games by and large and keep people healthy. Anything can happen from here, but we're increasingly encouraged about where we're at for 2023. And as we think about balancing short-term and long-term considerations, 2023 is increasingly going well. We're gonna keep leaning into that.
When it comes to the long-term considerations, when you have a transcendent player like Adley or some of the other young stars, do you look at locking them up long-term? Is it something the club would consider? Or how do you balance that?
Look, I've answered this a few times. It may not be a real satisfying answer, but it's a very honest answer. I don't want to be out talking about it. I think these things are best if they're not public. Sometimes that happens, and if it does, we'll deal with it then. But I don't see any interest in my behalf as a negotiator or someone who does business with these agents over and over throughout my career for them to have the expectancy that something might get out in the news from me. So I would just say that we've got a lot of people in our front office with a lot of business experience with major league contracts, economics, and they're all working on ways to keep our organization healthy all the time, and that absolutely includes looking at augmenting the contracts of young players that we have. But in terms of what's happening right now, I'm just not going to get into it. And we're in the middle of the season too, and that's the worst time probably to talk about things that we're looking at in a public way.